All right, Cindy.
Hello.
Cindy, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
A little small Midwest area between Springfield, Illinois, and St. Louis, Missouri. Livingston, Mont Olive area. 55 kind of goes right between it. One's on one side, one's on the other.
Tell me about your childhood.
That's interesting. I call it the sequence of unfortunate events lately. My mom and dad, unfortunately, no, not unfortunately, fortunately, because I have no idea why they were even together, got divorced when I was 5. They hated each other. My mom went off to find herself, more or less, and my dad found this lady that had 3 boys. My childhood was a sequence of events that was unfortunate for sure. I was 5 when my dad met this lady, and she had 3 boys, and that's when nobody heard me after that. They were the ones that were important. I bounced back and forth between my mom and dad. I moved schools 17 times and never even graduated. I'm still working on my GED. At the age, I was in 4th grade, so we figured it out. I think I was like 10. I was living with my aunt because my mom had a boyfriend that was beating her up, and she was drinking, and she didn't think it was safe for me to be there, so I went and lived with my aunt. I love my aunt. My first sentence when I was little was, I want to go to Aunt Dee Dee's house. I want to be an aunt like her, and I am, thank God. But I went and lived with her, and my mom kind of forgot me at that time. So my dad come back and went to court and got me. When I moved in with them, back in with them, I was approximately 10, 11, 4th grade. And there was 3 boys in the house. And there was 2 years, 2 older, 1 younger. And I don't want to say names, but the middle boy was the favorite. My dad's favorite, the son he never had. My mom was busy with her life. I was just there. It's kind of like Cinderella, actually, as I think about it now. Cooking, cleaning. I had to have like 5 loads of laundry done. The house swept, mopped. And then one day, the one now stepbrother that's 2 years older than me, the favorite one, came into the laundry room when I was doing laundry. And that's when the abuse started, the sexual abuse. I didn't realize that's what it was then. I wasn't getting the love and the attention that I deserved from anybody but my grandma and my aunt. So when this person did this, they gave me the attention that I wanted. And even though I was saying no, I mean, I was only 9, 10 years old. And I see the freezer and everything. And at this time, I mean, I am telling people that I don't want to be left alone, and I'm scared and everything. You know, I tried everything never to be left with him. But as time went on, he was the one that was always watching us. If we were out in the fields, working in the fields, well, Cindy, go with him in his truck to unload the hay. Hey, we need something from the grocery store because we lived out in the country. Cindy, he's going to take you to the grocery store. I hated it because going to the grocery store, he also knew where every rock pile was going to be. He told me nobody would believe me. And he was right. I got my butt beat one time because my stepmom found my little brother's teddy bear in his closet with my underwear stuffed in them. Why? They weren't bloody. They weren't nothing like that. So why would I even be hiding them like that in their room? But I got in trouble for it. I didn't say nothing. I wasn't saying what he was doing to me. I didn't know it was wrong. It was attention that I wasn't getting it from anybody else, especially when I was that young. Then I've seen weekly readers, another unfortunate sequence. You know, everybody gets the weekly readers in school for kids. And I'm sure most people, I mean, you know how you go ask your mom for one thing and mom says no. So, you know, you're going to go ask your dad if he's in another room. I did that one time. It was either a Michael Jackson book or poster. And it came in, and in our family, my dad was German, and the women waited on the men. When we sat down at the table, it would be my dad, my stepmom, one of my stepbrothers, me, and the other two. My dad needed anything during supper, my stepmom got it. If the boys needed anything, I had to get up and get it. Well, the one that was abusing me, he made it almost an every night ritual that as soon as I would put food in my mouth, he would take his cup and jiggle it. That's kind of a running joke now at the family, even to this day, about how the boys would do that to me. My niece, she flat out told him, "You're lucky because I would have just dumped it over your head." Thank God she had some spunk and she didn't let him do it. Well, one day the weekly reader order come in. I was so happy, but I knew. I mean, I'd already been whipped for taking something out of the mailbox, my DNF slips. And when I say whipped, I don't mean patted on the butt. Sometimes it was on all fours with our heads against the wall. And mind you, my dad is your height, but a lot bigger. His arms, we used to hang from his arms. He's a farm boy. Hay, straw. My stepmom, every time that we would get in trouble, she'd always make sure to get a hold of my dad or wait until my dad got home. My dad liked to drink too, so that was even more. Well, we were sitting at the table and I brought it out because the table was where every night we had to be. No matter what, the table, that was my dad's thing. Being German, you eat together. That's where we talked about what was going on. They would talk sex talk all the time. Shoot, the one that sexually molested me, him and his friends kept a running total of girls they slept with. And I think he was up to 200. And it does not surprise me. They just talked about everything. And I didn't even realize how not healthy that was at that time. Well, when I brought that out, an argument occurred. And in between that, I had already been in Springfield Memorial Hospital for suicide because I was trying to escape what my stepbrother was doing to me. I tried many times. Go to the next door neighbors, call my mom, run away. Not really run away, I just walked down the road in the country and my mom would come get me. But then there was sometimes I was running away from my mom too, because she had boyfriends that was abusing her. So that night, one thing led to another. Table got turned over. Dad started yelling at her. She started yelling at Dad. It was unfair that he did that for me, and I'm a brat, and I'm ungrateful, and all this stuff. And next thing I knew, my stepmom was against the wall, against the refrigerator. My stepbrother, they weren't even step then. They were just dating. Come with him towards a chair, and my dad grabbed it and took his foot and went like that and kicked him back. And after that, Dad told me to go in my bedroom and pack, because I was going to be leaving that night, that he was going to take me to one of my godparents' house. I said, okay. So I went in there, and I was keeping an eye out, an ear out, because if anybody's ever through any trauma, now I understand that you're on high alert all the time. I mean, the sound of a door, you're second guessing everything. That was my life. Shoot, I'm so tight now. I'm having issues. I'm tight now because of then. Next thing I know, I see my stepmom and my dad walk into the bedroom while he was pushing her. He walked out, and the next thing I hear is a zip, click, click. Well, I just figured that was her suitcase, because, they were fighting. She was going to leave too. No, she walked out with a big deer rifle. And my bedroom door was here, and their bedroom door was here. I was in 5th grade at the time. And I was walking behind her in the hallway, and I couldn't say nothing. And we would always get the deer rifle out because we lived in the country, and if we weren't hunting, because we couldn't hunt, we couldn't kill anything on our property, but we would look because it had a great scope, and we would look for the deer. Mind you, I was 11 or 12. In my little kid head, I thought, oh, wow, are there deers out there we're going to look at? Wasn't thinking about all the fighting. It was so natural. The fighting was always. So, okay, turn the page. 2 seconds later, nope. My dad was standing at the corner of the living room, and he was bent down, turned off the TV and turned around. And there was a recliner chair sitting over here, and she set that gun on the edge of it, on the back. And all 4 of his kids were behind her yelling no. Dad turned around, and he's like, what the hell are you doing? And she pulled the trigger. She shot him right here, dropped him, and it come out here. He got up. He was hobbling out to the car, and she was helping. I'm trying not to cuss, but I'm going to here. The damn bitch actually thought she was going to drive him to the hospital. She was like, I'll take it. And he looks at her and goes, you just shot me. So I get in the car with Dad. He drops me off more or less at the neighbor's. And I call the ambulance, tell them which way they're going, because this is country. So it's smart for my dad to get in the car, because he could die and bleed out. He got to Dairy Queen, and thank God they found him. 4 days later, I walk into Memorial Hospital, and she's standing right there next to him. And I get told, I forgave her, so you have to. No counseling, no nothing. Just simple that. No DCFS, no nothing. They didn't even shut the cell door when they took her in. And my dad almost lost his life. They got married 3 or 4 months later. They're still married. They've been together. I was 5 years old when they got together, and I'm 48. Right then, I gave up. Nobody was listening to me. I just went in survival mode. I disassociated. Now I understand. I disassociated with everything. I was being raped. I was in foster care. They abused me enough and put me in foster care. And they wanted me to go spend the weekends with my dad, who abused me. But just 4 hours with my mom, because she had a boyfriend and a husband that liked to hit on her, but never hit on me. Come find out, my caseworker were friends with my stepmom. I'm getting that report now. My stepmom had made me look like a liar. I see it now because she knew the truth about her son. She hated me. Now, I've had to, I'm 48. It started 40 years ago. The abuse, the not being heard. I have a court document. I forgot what those things are called, like the court reporters that they type out. I have a whole court case from my parents that I am multiply saying multiple times to this judge, I'm scared of my dad. I'm scared of being there. At the time now reading it, I realized what my mom's lawyer was trying to get me to do was what I'm doing here. And explain what was going on and what was going on wrong. But I didn't know it was wrong. Shoot, the hummingbird paddle is still hanging in my dad and my stepmom's dining room that they used to whip us with. It's a joke of how I was treated. Found out that she likes to tell my niece, who is very important to me, that I put myself in foster care because I took the DNF slip out of the mailbox. So I deserve to be whipped with a switch off of a tree and had lines and marks from here to here. That it was my fault. That I had to, okay guys, not just, people say eat a bar of soap, they think just put it in their mouth. No, they cut it up and had me chew it up. And when I puked it up, I had to pick out the pieces. But I put myself in foster care. Now you might wonder why, you just asked me about my childhood, why I still stayed in contact with my family. I didn't for a while, but then a little girl was born to my stepbrother. And I knew I had to make sure she was safe. So I stayed in contact. I had a miscarriage by my stepbrother. Nobody heard me. The one lie I told, I guess that's where I screwed up. I went to the judge one time and told him what my stepbrother was doing to me. They took me out of the home and put me in foster care. Mind you, I have, and I'm not exaggerating, at least 15 aunts and uncles. My dad's one of 12, 13. My mom's one of 10. And I went in foster care. That was scary. And I was only 9. No, it had to be 11 or 12. I'm sorry, it was 11 or 12 because it started at 10. 8, 10. This was the one lie that I told that made me a liar for the rest of my life. Well, so far. That everybody in my family. When they took me out of the home after I said that my stepbrother was molesting me, after 2 days, I told them I'd lied. Because they put me in this foster home that was scary. It was 2 hours almost away. The foster parents told me that they could only take me out at nighttime because I was a foster kid. And I remember going up to the bathroom and they were doing that, not red rum, but where you look in the mirror and you're supposed to say something 3 times. And something's supposed to appear. As kids, they do it. The next day I told my worker I lied. I was scared. I was young. That was my biggest mistake, because that's what turned me into a liar. At 17, I went back and forth. At 17, I'd moved out. I was living with my mom, because at 14, actually, my dad lost custody of me. Week-long custody battle from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon in Madison County. And my dad lost custody. That was the day that my dad broke my heart also. He was mad because I broke his heart, and I know that. But he didn't see what my stepmom was doing. She had him. She has so many people. She's the Miss Perfect in town. She's the one that makes all the pies and the cakes and all that stuff when somebody dies. She's the one that when, somebody's in the hospital, she goes to, or when a nephew's in prison, she takes care of his stuff for 3 years. That superhero syndrome, I call it. Him taking me to my mom's house that night after he lost custody of me. We were driving down the road. And he looked at me and he said, "Cindy, you're so lucky Betty's with us, because I would hit the biggest tree I could to take us both out." He was serious. I didn't see my dad for 4 years after that. At 17, I was trying to protect my mom from her then husband, and he hit me. And I called cops, which the cops were there multiple times. Not for me ever. And I gave him a week to apologize after he got out, because, come on, the cops arrested him, and he got back to the house before I even did. And he didn't apologize. And I went in and I told my mom, she was laying on the couch. I told my mom, "You might put up with it, but I'm not." And I moved out. I ended up back at my dad's. I was 17. I was working. There was so much more going on. I didn't have anybody. And the rape started again. He had even had a girlfriend that was living there. But I had tried to tell multiple times. I told my mom, she totally believed me, and she tried to fight. But every time they would get me to try to tell it when I was younger at court and stuff, I didn't understand that it was wrong. I didn't understand, like I said, getting my butt beat like I was, getting whipped like I was wrong. So I didn't know to say it. So at 17, when I moved back in, I got pregnant and had a miscarriage, and it was from him. And I will never forget it, because I was laying on the couch because I was on bed rest. And he walks in because she must have called my dad when they were at work. He stood at the end of the couch and he goes, "Mom, is Cindy pregnant?" He knew. It didn't stop even after the miscarriage. Now I'm working through not blaming myself. I'm working through not blaming myself for my whole childhood. Because I feel that if I wasn't here, then the problems wouldn't have been here. My one thing that made me survive my adulthood so far is because that little girl, my niece, nobody would listen to me, and I couldn't allow that to happen to her. So instead of, when I got married and moved out and stuff, instead of just cutting them off and putting that up, I had to protect my niece. Until recently, when my niece got pregnant and was bringing a baby in to the house, into the family, because I had made sure my niece, she's 18, I made sure I was, I was there. She moved in with my parents. She was taking care of my parents. And I'm going to say this. My dad and my stepmom sucks as parents. Totally sucks. But as grandparents, they try to do a great job, especially with my niece. They were there when she needed them. But I had to make sure, because my stepbrother lives in a fifth wheel camper in the backyard. Mind you, I forgot to tell you this one. The other brother, that's the oldest, okay, I'm 51. He has a house a mile down the road now, but he lives with them because, the last time my niece was out there, he was Heil Hitlering And the time that I was out there, he was putting holy water on us. He has used enough drugs and mental that he's not in his right mind. So my stepmom has all 3 of her boys that are 46, 50, and 52 still at home. My dad's there now with dementia. But the one thing is when my niece got to the age and I knew she was protected. I mean, I lived out in Washington State for 10 years with my first marriage, and I called this girl all the time. I made sure. Come home. I would always make sure. I made sure, I wanted to be that aunt, and it was also to protect her. Because nobody listened to me. And I had to be that aunt to make sure if he was doing it to her, she could come tell me. Now, I got to make sure that my niece, my great niece, doesn't get hurt. Now I'm a foster parent. I've taken all what has happened to me and I try to be fair, and I wish this world could just be fair. If you don't do it to people if you're not going to have it done. To yourself, if it wouldn't feel good to you. And now the truth is coming out. I've talked to the cops, which they've already failed me once when I've told multiple times. And I will say this, I talked to the cops again, and guess what? I'm getting radio silence. But that's okay. Because now I know my niece is safe. And I always wondered when I was a child, you wonder what your purpose is in life. And last night, pulling out of my driveway, my purpose pulled out of the driveway. And that was my niece and my great niece. Not even blood. I have no siblings. But she was raised by the same people, has the same issues I have. And that's been my life, to protect her. And I might not have no kids. But I want to protect her and any other kids I can. I'm a foster parent now. I'm a CASA worker. I've been married twice. I'm now dating a gentleman that's 20 years younger than me. I've had gastro bypass. I used to weigh 309 pounds. Once I decided to change my life and get the surgery, all my friends told me, because I had gastro bypass, like I said, I was with a guy that was an alcoholic. I mean, I married 2 alcoholics. I mean, come on. I had no standards. As my boyfriend tells me now, Cindy, you had the lowest standards possible. And he's like, how could you not? Come on. Your dad got shot by your stepmom and they got married. Your mom spends years with a guy that beats the crap out of her. So now I'm 48 years old and trying to figure out myself because of my childhood. And doing this, I want to thank you, because not understanding what was happening to me when I was younger and realizing that was wrong, that needs to be out there more. The people that aren't heard, I wasn't. That's my whole thing. I mean, I was going to court saying, okay, I wasn't saying that he sexually molested me, but he did. But I was scared because you know what? You're getting ready for me to tell you the truth on stand, but you're sending me home with this man. So how am I supposed to sit up here and tell you that I'm being sexually molested, because I already told a judge once and they took me out of the home? And the one lie that I told is what turned me into a liar. And that was that he didn't do it.
It's amazing how often this stays a secret.
Yep.
I think it stays a secret more often than it's exposed.
Oh, yeah. Well, because, too, I feel guilty. Coming up here, I realized that. I feel guilty because I let it go on. I said no plenty of times. there was so many times that like, it was almost caught. Like one time he came into the house and he threw me down on the floor and he was actually sitting, like had his knees on my shoulders and was getting ready to unzip his pants. And my dad walked in and he told my dad she wouldn't get me a glass of tea. So I was getting ready to punch her. I got whipped for that because I wasn't going to get him a glass of tea. What was I supposed to do? Tell the truth? Because I would have got whipped for that, because to my dad, that was a lie. Believe your kids. Look into it. Come on. Why would I hide my own underwear in my stepbrother's teddy bear in their closet? Why did I get whipped for that?
I think sometimes the parents don't want to accept that their kids are doing this.
And and that's exactly what it is. She has not accepted that her 3 boys, it's quite entertaining in a ha-ha way. So there was 3 boys and 1 girl for us. Now with the grandkids, it's 3 girls and 1 boy. And it's amazing how all the females are doing great. They have kids, they have jobs. They actually, most of them work for the government, the state of Illinois, in the cannabis industry. So, they're checked by the state and everything. But then her 3 boys and her grandson, But I was the one that wasn't going to do nothing with my life. I fostered 8 kids in 3 years. I am now going through ketamine treatments, doctor prescribed ketamine treatments for my CPTSD, because they call it complex because it's been for so long. And thank God to kind of social media for that, because that's how I found out about all that. I've been on medication since I was 9 years old for depression, bipolar. To come find out, I just got put on ADHD medicine, and guess what? I've actually sat here this long.
At what age were you put on it?
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Okay, my mind used to just like wander. Negative thoughts all the time. Playbacks, PTSD, and mine's a lot of the feelings.
Does it help?
Oh God, yes. Between the ketamine helping with the negative thoughts and just like seeing the world differently, like taking the blindfold off the world. And then the ADHD medicine slowing me down. Wow, I thought I was crazy. I had all the buzzing in my body and all that. And this all the time, can't sit still. Everybody would be yelling at me. Shoot, one time there was a small earthquake. Like we felt the rumble, how you in living Litchfield. And I was at my cousin's staying the night. And this is how bad I was. I didn't feel the earthquake. Her roommate comes running in and is bracing herself, saying, "Guys, did you feel this earthquake?" And Trista looks at me and goes, "Oh, I thought you were moving your foot." Because I always had to be just moving. And now the ADHD medicine helped. My boyfriend's 28, and actually I kind of feel like I'm learning myself all over again. I'm trying things that I've never done, doing this, but I don't have, like I said to you earlier, I don't have no luck, but I have faith in myself that I can make it. And I just want to help other people live a happy life and go on adventures. But I really just want the truth out too. I was made to look like a villain. I was made to look like a liar. My mom was made to look nuts. The reason she was nuts is she knew that her daughter was being sexually molested. She knew that her daughter got pregnant by her stepbrother. Nobody would listen to us. Not the judges, not the cops. They're still not. I have 5 unanswered emails from the officer that's supposed to be looking into this case. Nothing. So I'm doing it. And I'm getting the paperwork and everything. Because I investigate. I found out I can get my DCFS record. I can get... So nobody can tell me I'm lying. If somebody wants, she's so many years proved me a liar. Not no more. Guys, this is the truth. The person that you think is so good, she could be good to you, but nobody knows what happens behind closed doors. And behind the bedroom closed doors, it's even more scarier sometimes.
All right. Cindy, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for allowing me to.
Hope this helps.
It already has.
Good. Thank you.
All right, Scott. Scott, where did you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Originally, I am from Davenport, Iowa.
Tell me about your family growing up.
My family growing up was me, my brother, and my mother. My father died in Vietnam.
How old were you?
So I was 1.5 when he died. That would have been 1968. Yeah, 1968.
I'm sorry about that.
And my mother tried to raise me and my older brother the best she could, but we pretty much made our own decisions in life, We didn't have a father to make our decisions for us, so when we became of age, juveniles, my mother really didn't have any way to control us,
Was she working or?
Yeah, she was always working. She took a job, went from being a secretary to working at John Deere Harvester, building combines, and that put her on third shift or second shift, and usually it was 10 to 12-hour shifts. So that left me and my brother completely alone for half the day. And you can get in a lot of trouble when you're a juvenile, and you got an older brother. My older brother is 4 years older than I am, so he was always the first one to bring alcohol into the house, or cigarettes, or marijuana, or drugs. He was the one to bring it in, and I would be the test dummy. They tested on me first and see if Scott can handle it, then we'll try it tomorrow. That was pretty much how I grew up, and I was kind of like the test dummy. It was pretty wild.
How would you describe your childhood in general?
It was very abusive.
From
My
who?
older brother, I want to say he's a sadomasochist is what I want to say. He loves to deliver pain to people, let's put it that way. That's his thing. He likes to watch people suffer. And he loved to watch me suffer. I mean, he would do anything to make me in pain, And I literally grew up with broken bones from him, bruises. I went to school one time, and the teacher called my mom and said, "You got to come down here right now, or I'm going to take your kid from you. I swear to God, I will take your child from you and give him to the foster people." And my mom was like, "What the fuck?" So she left work to come down. My brother had given me 101 bruises all over my body on the way to fucking school. He just decided just to beat the crap out of me. And I'm trying to make it to kindergarten at the fucking time. And it was pretty wild. It was a wild thing. My teacher was adamant about she thought my mother had beat me. But my mom didn't touch me. It was my older brother.
Was your older brother like a father figure to you?
I tried to make him that. I really did. I didn't have anything, you know, as far as a father figure. All my friends that had fathers, their fathers weren't interested in me because of what happened maybe with my dad or because not everybody was a Vietnam supporter, you know. It was a fucked up war. And they acted like, you know, it's not their fucking problem, you know. Other times, you know, they would let me maybe eat dinner with them or something, but then they'd tell me, you know, I got to skedaddle after that, you know. And then I'd go home. But like I said, it just got worse and worse. My life did. I was going to be on my own all the time. I just knew that, you know, from the get-go that I knew that as a youngster that I was going to be by myself throughout the history of my life, you know. Even though I didn't want to be by myself, I wanted to have friends and maybe get married or something like that when I got older. But it just never happened, you know. Just never transpired for me. I became an alcoholic and a drug addict, and things just spiraled out of control, and things just kept getting worse and worse. I moved back home in 2008 from California here, and I was in a flood in Cedar Rapids in 2008, a biblical fucking, it was really wild, dude. 45 feet above crest.
Wow.
Was the record for the river there. It was 45, it's 4.5 stories. I lost everything I owned and wound up homeless again because of that. I mean, I had a job and everything before that, and I was a working alcoholic is what I call it, a functioning alcoholic and drug addict. And I didn't mind working 8 or 10 hours out of the day as long as I was getting a paycheck at the end of the week, you know.
You've had jobs?
Yeah. And I didn't mind working as long as I was going to get a paycheck. But when the flood hit, it took away my job, and that left me homeless again. And FEMA came in and gave us all $300. What the fuck are we going to do with that? We were living in a schoolhouse, in an elementary school, and I decided to split, man. I was like, I ain't sticking around here. There's no jobs or nothing, you know. It's just, the town was really fucked up. So I left, and Cedar Rapids since then has rebuilt and everything's fine and hunky-dory and everything, but I never went back, so to speak. I did go back once, actually just went through there on a bus, but and seen that everything was kind of rebuilt, because it pancaked the whole town, you know. All the trees were gone. It was really weird. All the houses, where I lived was completely gone. I lived 2 blocks from the river, you know, and it was really weird to see everything gone like that. It's the first time in my life in 2008 that I lost everything. So I moved out here to California, stopped in Colorado, first of all, for a little bit to check out Colorado. I've never been there. And I stayed in Colorado for a couple of years in Boulder and decided I wasn't doing nothing there but almost freezing to death in the wintertime, you know.
What kind of jobs did you have?
I usually take factory jobs. I also take cooking jobs. I'm a great dishwasher and prep cook, you know. That's not really the star of the show, though. I'm not the cook, so to speak. But I can cook, though, when it comes down to it. I'd rather do the lackey jobs, you know. Then I'm not so much responsible for something, you know. And if they catch me drinking, they usually don't give a shit. because it's hard to get a good dishwasher to stick around, you know. So they don't mind if you have a drink or two on the job, you know. And that's what I try to do, at least, you know. I try to work as much as I can, and I just got to the point right now that I just went through a big fire and lost everything again. In 2018, I also went through a big fire. So this is my second fire. I've lost everything I owned. This fire, though, I lost my wife. And like I said, I don't have any meaning in life anymore. She was like my everything to me, you know. I met her after the first fire in 2018.
How long were you in 18?
Yeah, so I was only with her for 7 years, but that was the first girl that I had actually cared for, you know, in my whole life, you know. I decided to settle down finally, and she was the one, you know.
I'm sorry.
And now she's gone already, and I just can't tell you what a feeling I feel every day. I wake up and I start drinking. I don't stop until I go to sleep at night. And I just don't want to be around anymore. I want to go be with her, but that means I have to die, you know? And it's a weird situation I'm in.
How much do you drink now?
I drink as much as I possibly can. If I don't have enough money, I'll panhandle or whatever I got to do to get the money. I don't care as far as that goes. I've even had to steal it, and that's a shame to me. Where I grew up, you don't steal no matter what happens. And I've had to change my life around just to do the alcohol thing, and I'm addicted to it. I can't stop, you know. I've tried several times to get a hold of myself, and I just can't. I think about her 24/7, and it dawns on me that alcohol is probably going to be the death of me.
How old are you now?
50. I'm 58 and a half, or 58 3/4. Wait a minute, 58. I'm up 59 April 21st.
Do you have children?
Huh?
You don't have children?
I have 3.
You have 3.
Yeah, I have 3 kids.
Were you in their lives?
I was. It's another heartbreaking part of my story is the first girl that I had a child with. We met, and she had tried to have a child with her high school sweetheart. Like 5 different times, she had tried to have a child with her high school sweetheart. That didn't happen. She could not have a child with this guy. It would abort every time. So she went out and found me playing pool one night with my buddies and decided she was going to date me right then and there. When she decided that, she decided she was going to mate with me and have a child with me. Now, this was a true story. I was working at the time. I was the assistant manager of a chicken restaurant, and she was the assistant manager of a McDonald's. The only thing was she couldn't have a kid with the guy that she loved. He blamed her, saying that there was something wrong with her innards, that she couldn't have a child. She could not have his sire one of his children. So, being that it was, she had to find me to have a child. She did that. We had a child with no problems. The child came out with no problems at all. And it was just him. There was something wrong with his sperm, and she proved it right then and there. She named the child after him. That hurt. That hurt me bad. She named it after him because she loved him. She didn't love me. She just wanted to prove the point. The point was that he couldn't have children. There was something wrong with his innards. And later on, they went back together and they had 2 children again. But they figured out what was wrong with him, the doctors did. So basically I had a child with her to prove a point to him. And I never got to spend much time with him. His name was Jeffrey, and I always wanted to do anything with him, you know, throw a baseball with him or take him fishing or anything that I never got to do with my dad, you know. And I was never given the chance to. So once again, I was just being me and doing my thing, drinking and going to work every day, and I met another girl. This time, this girl was going to be mine, you know. There was no extra boyfriends and all that, you know. I took her out of a bad situation she was in with a boyfriend, but she didn't love him. I knew that, you know, from the start, that she didn't love her boyfriend. Anyway, me and her got together and things were great. I had 2 jobs that I was working because we had 1 daughter already and we had a son on the way, and things were going great. I was working 2 jobs. One was at Oral-B in Iowa City, Iowa, and I had moved back to Iowa because I wanted to be closer to my mother at the time so she could watch my new children, you know. And my girl decided that she was going to go see her parents on Christmas. And they sent her a bus ticket to go from Iowa City back to Duluth, Minnesota, where she was from. And when she got there, they gave her a car. They thought that would help us out, you know. At the time, we didn't have a car. And sure, it would have been great. She got in a car accident on the way down and died in a car accident. Lucky that my 2 children were unscathed in the accident. They were in the back seat. But their mother died. And I was left with 2 children at the ages of 1 and 2.5. And their mom was now gone. And I had to make a big decision in life. And that decision was, am I going to raise these kids by myself? Or am I going to give these kids up to the foster care people? And I chose to raise them myself. And I quit drinking. I quit doing drugs. And I did that for 15 years. And then her parents finally came after 15 years. And her father showed me some paperwork that said that he had less than 1 year to live, and he wanted to spend it with my kids. And I said, "No, I ain't got a problem with that. That'd be fine with me." So my kids kind of went on a vacation with their grandparents, and that was cool, you know. He said if I did that he would make sure that they would never want in their lives for anything. If I just would give my kids to them for a year, that my kids would never want anything in life. they would be financially set.
That's nice of him.
And that's what he told them. And when they became 18, both my kids got $4 million apiece. It's a lot of money. My children don't know where I am right now. And I don't tell them. I tell them I'm couch surfing with friends out in California. Don't worry about me. I don't want none of their money. I don't want nothing to do with them anymore. They're of age. They both went to college. Both of them are successful. They both got married and got kids themselves, you know? So there's no need that I should ruin their lives by entering it at any point in time. I just know that that's what would happen, you know? So I stay hidden. It's the only thing I can do. I can't enter their lives. I know better. They'll try to give me money, and they'll try to help me out. And that's not what I want.
When did you start drinking again? When they went away?
Yeah.
When they went to Minnesota?
Yeah. When they went away, I knew that I wasn't going to see him again. Even though he said it would only be a year, they just wind up staying there the rest of their lives. I knew it. I knew they would finish it out there. Because when he died, Grandma was all alone. And they didn't want Grandma to be all alone. So they called down and said, hey, Dad, can we just stay here with Grandma in this big, huge house that they had, you know, because they were fucking millionaires. And I said, yeah, there's no reason why you can't stay there. You don't have to come down here and live with me in a little dinky 2-room apartment, you know. You can stay with your grandparents. I'd be her parent now because he had died. And that's where they stayed, you know. I mean, the house that they were staying in had a fucking movie theater in it. My house didn't have a movie theater, you know. I couldn't offer them anything like that. I remember when I grew up, my favorite thing in life was like little cars, army men and shit like that. That was my favorite toys, man. And I was such a easy kid, you know, to babysit, I guess you'd say. So I just play with my toys. My toys were like little cars and little army men and shit like that. And as long as nobody bothered me, I could sit for hours and just have little skirmishes and play with my toys, you know. And that's how I grew up. And I don't know, man. Things are a lot different now in my life. And I know I can't go back to my kids now. My mom had died 2 years ago, and I didn't get to go back for that. And my brothers also passed away. So I'm the last of my lineage, of my brother and my mother and me. I'm the last one alive. And I'm living on Skid Row in L.A.
How long have you been on the streets?
In L.A. here?
Well, in general.
For a year now, straight, since my old lady died. I've been living outside for a year. When she was alive, we always tried to have a roof over her head. We'd stay with her dad or some of her other friends that she had. And out here in California, she had a lot of friends that she went to school with. She went to school in Silver Lake. Her father was a comedy writer. So she came from above the line, if you know what that means, in the Hollywood business. And her father wrote the best MASH that there ever was. He wrote what's called a dramedy. It's when you mix drama and comedy together. He invented it, actually. His MASH is considered the best MASH that was ever written. And we just lived at his house for a while in Glendale, and taking care of him for a while till he passed away finally. And when he passed away, once again, we found ourselves without a place to live. And her dad died. 6 months later, she died.
How'd she pass away?
Natural causes. That was the amazing thing. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with her. Just old age, I guess, is what they classified it as. She didn't have COVID. She didn't have anything else. She just went to sleep and didn't wake up. That was the weirdest part about it, you know? And I was like, what the hell? She didn't have any medication. She wasn't on any medication. And she was like me. I don't take medication either, you know? And she's fit as a fiddle and doing yoga and all that shit like she always did. And then she just didn't wake up one night. And I found her dead in the bed. And I was like, I couldn't even speak, you know? And now I'm without my significant other, and I've really lost everything I own again, basically. I don't have anything. I don't have a place to go anymore. Like, I can't go to where we stayed with her dad because that was her father's house, you know? And I don't know what happened. His lawyer came and locked it all up and all that, so I found myself on the streets again, and I don't have nowhere to go, really. I stayed in a motel for about a week, and that's all I could afford.
Do you ever feel like you're cursed or you're born under a bad sign or something like that?
I thought that. I really did. A guy I told my story to basically said, you know, as much shit has fucking hit you, you could write a fucking hell of a book, dude, you know? And I thought about it, and I said, yeah, you know, that wouldn't be a bad idea, I guess, to write a book about the things I've had happen, you know? Because there's a lot of other things that have happened to me that I just, if I told you, you'd say, oh my fucking God. That is crazy, you know? But yeah, some of the places I picked to camp, out here in California, I found out things that I wasn't supposed to find out, let's put it that way. So I had to shut my mouth. I can't tell anybody about what I've seen, because if I do, somebody will probably come and put a bullet in my head. Matter of fact, they would run to come and put a bullet in my head because the world found out about what I know. There'd be a lot of people that would be really upset. Yeah, let's put it that way.
If you had your life to live all over again, would you have done anything differently?
Yeah, I would have. I would have never did the thing with Sue, of course, the first child. That was just wrong to me in so many ways, that we had a child and she named him after her.
Yeah, I know, but you're just shooting pool and drinking some beers, and
Yeah.
you got lucky that night.
That's what I thought, you know. I thought I just got lucky, you know. And then next thing you know, we were dating officially, a boyfriend and girlfriend. And next thing I know, we're having a child together. And I didn't even see the signs of any. I was smitten by her. And she did this all just to prove a fucking point to him. And that was fucking mean, man. The more I thought about it, it was just plain fucking mean what she did to me. But she never asked for child support or nothing like that. And I understand, now I understand kind of, not forgiving her, but understanding that she couldn't prove it to him any other way, basically, in her mind. She was so upset that he was ready to break up with her and start dating some other girl, which is what he was doing. He was already dating another girl, and she was pissed about that. She was mad that he was dating another girl, and she thought that they were going to have a kid together, and she would be too late then to have his child. So I guess me being there was the point that he needed to make, you know. It's really wild, man.
Scott, let me ask you one last question. What would
Okay.
you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Never judge a book by its cover. It's a very important thing. There's a lot of meaning that goes behind it. A lot of people judge people by what they think that person is. They don't know what that person's been through. So that's what I think, yeah.
All right, Scott, thank you so much for sharing your story.
It's no problem, Mark.
I wish you lots of
Pleasure
luck.
meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
When I was designing the first Soft White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from Soft White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what Soft White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.